Showtime.
I'm back to a place where everyone is happy and they live like a family.
Strange suicide at the 30th. It's very strange.
4 bodies, 6 bodies, 10, 12, 14, 16, 19. Grand total to 39.
39 people.
Federal agents first confronted a heavily armed religious cult near Waco.
911, what's your emergency?
There's 75 men around our building and they're shooting at us in Mount Carmel. Tell them there are children and women in here and to call it off. I hear a gun.
Who are these people?
It was such a love affair, it was such enthusiasm, such joy, and we worked such long days, but you just had the energy to do it.
A number of people simply followed fairly blindly the directions of their leadership, even though they were intelligent and well educated enough to have gone their own way. They didn't, because they surrendered themselves to this.
Gotta have the goat.
This is where we expose the cults and the sinners who lead them. Make sure you subscribe to the channel right here, Cult Rehab, every week on the Drip, live stream on YouTube. Join in the comment section. Join the congregation. Listen to real brainwashing stories, sex scandals, cult rituals, unholy practices, all performed by these sinners heading up the cult. Listen to cult survivors getting interviewed and cult leaders getting roasted. Is someone trying to recruit you? Well, screw them and their cult. Join the anti-cult cult right here on Cult Rehab. Too many cults? Maybe I said cult too many times. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Sign it up. Come on in. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the community, for the culture, figure out what's going on, do the forgiveness. God is great. So make sure you watch Cult Rehab. It's not a cult, it's an anti-cult cult.
All right, new intro. We got a new intro for the show, people. How's everybody doing out there in the community? How's everybody doing in the community? Come on into the congregation. So weird seeing myself. Oh my God, can everyone hear me okay? Gang, gang, yo. Gang, gang, gang. Natalie's here, ready to party. Natalie Grad, what's up? Welcome to the service, everybody. Welcome to the service. Elliot Anderson says culture. I said, welcome to the service, sir. Welcome to the service, everybody. Make sure you can hear me okay. Let me know. Chase Gordon says cult life. We're trying to avoid that, brother. We're trying to avoid that, Chase. Mr. Gordon, we don't want that here. We want to avoid that. So that's why people are coming in. People like Richard Wolf. I love the XJW community. I can't wait to hear that what new events are going on in the movement. Yeah, the movement it's a whole world. Like, it honestly, I'm getting daily text messages from, or like every once a week, I'll get like 19 messages from Natalie, and they're great. They're all hitters. Every text message, I'm like, this is great shit. I gotta just read this on the podcast. It's so good. We'll do that next week. This week, actually, she did give us a topic. It was so good. Tell me if you can hear the music. I'm gonna play another track here while we do a little intro. We got an incredible guest here today, another ex-JW that Natalie actually told us about. Jenifer Infantino is here for Cult Rehab. Let's take that off. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the service, everybody. Welcome to the service. Come on in, settle in. A lot of people are here. Boxing Prof is here. Abundant mindset. Joel Osteen voice. Yeah. I gotta say, Joel Osteen seems like one of the good ones, but we'll have discussions on that. It just seems like when you hear these Jehovah's Witness psychos, you think like, Joel, what did Joel do? Even some of the other ones, like Creflo Dollar, he would talk about like, if you're not giving money, if you're not putting money in the plate, I'm going to take you in the back. Pop, 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 pop. He talked about like killing. Yeah. It was like people who come to the service and they don't pay. I had a dream yesterday. God said, take him out to the back and pop, 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 pop. Yeah, that's so funny, eh? Yeah, no, and that's why you know that I would never do that to you. You know what I'm saying? My name's Amish Patel. I'm here for the culture, for the community. We're all doing some real good karmas here. You know that? We're doing some incredible karmas. Boxing Prof is here. Eric, that's why we should have an abundance mindset, because we're talking to people who are in cults. This is Cult Rehab. Thanks for coming, everybody. I wanted to. We have Natalie. We have Jenifer Infantino here, and I'm going to bring her on one second. I just want to tell you guys about a little, maybe like a little miracle that I saw when I was at the Banff TV Festival. Because y'all know that I'm a TV writer. You know that I'm a Canadian Screen Award winner. You know that, right? I don't want to brag. Babaji doesn't like to brag. But you know, Babaji's winning the awards. I'm writing TV. I'm trying to teach this next generation. We have a TV show called Maya's Meditations that we're pitching at, that I went there to pitch. I can't show you too much. It's in development, but this is the show, and it is a kids meditation show where we go on these meditation journeys and we heal the traumas, and we got to do it for the kids. And everyone I told the show about was like, "This is incredible." First 2 days, not really. Last 2 days, people were like, "This is the culture needs it." Because the first 2 days, I wasn't doing the pitch properly, and then that's how these networking events are, though. You almost got to practice your pitch, and then I'm practicing with other people and everything else. But I just want to show you maybe a little miracle that happened, because one of the pitches, I always try to get a banger location for the pitches. So this is the view from the hotel. It rips. Gorgeous. This Banff Colonial Castle we're in to do this conference. It's a 43-year-old thing. Honestly, most networking events I've been to, little hokey, little nobody here really knows anyone, but this was legit TV. It was amazing. Anyway, this is the view, and I was pitching the show to someone, and because I think it's important that we have higher forms, let's say, of spirituality here for the community. So I was here. I was here. This is by the third, fourth day. This is where I was pitching my show from. Before I was pitching it in some small dungeon room on the side. It's hey, no wonder they're not feeling inspired. But luckily, I met the guy from BBC in the hallway. I'm like, "Hey, I got to tell you about the show. It's very important. The culture needs it." He's like, "Oh, yeah, of course. Let's do it." Yep. Gives me his number. Bing, bang, boom. I'm pitching it. But with him, he was in the bar. It is a different one. But the second last pitch I did, I planned it here. I was like, "I'm right here. Come, and I will tell you about the journeys that the kids will go on, and it will be beautiful journeys." Actually, the place that we were doing the Banff TV Festival, the indigenous people did journeys there. So I actually opened with that, and then I went into the pitch. And on the last 2 days that I was pitching the show, people were like, "We need it. The culture needs it. We're gonna buy it. We'll see. Listen, Babaji's doing big things. You know what I'm saying? Babaji's doing big things. But we got it. We have a very special guest here today. Cult Rehab. By the way, when I went to Banff and I told people about it, people were like, "That sounds amazing." Cult Rehab. By the way, they were like, "Is that a TV? Are you pitching that as a TV show?" I was like, "No, I just do it for the good karmas of it." And but the people there were like, you gotta do it. It's a good TV. It's a TV show. This is let's get it on TV. That's what people are saying in Banff. So listen, the future of the show, who knows where it will take us. But right now, we have an incredible guest. She's here for you. She's an XJW, so she's been through all of all the stuff that we've been talking about on Cult Rehab. And I think it's great that she came on. So wherever you are, give it up and make some noise for Jenifer Infantino, everybody. Jenifer,
hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Thanks. It is honestly, I was in Banff and people were like, that's a good show. Cult Rehab. The first 2 days, because what happens when you're pitching a show is that you pitch your show, and when they're not into it, you got to switch to another thing. You got to just move on. It's not good. You don't want to sit in that. So you just go, so they're kind of losing interest, and you go, yeah. I also have a podcast with 30,000 listeners, or I'm also writing another, there's 2 other shows that I have to pitch, right? So it's even other people said that. They were like, if the show that you're pitching isn't hitting, just be like, "Oh yeah, what are you looking for?" Okay, I got that. But one of the things that always hit with people was Cult Rehab. People were like, "That's amazing. That's a great." They were like, "We have a podcast department." So, big things down the road, hopefully. But thanks for coming, because I think these conversations are incredible.
Well, and just to say that there's 8.5 million Jehovah's Witnesses now that are in a cult currently. I think it's needed. That's just one cult that we're speaking of. There's many more.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, Nityananda, hilarious. He is so wacky. I find the Jehovah's Witness, it's a little more, one thing that I don't worry so much with Jehovah's Witness is I don't feel in danger personally. You know what I mean? Like they just seem like mild and like oddly inefficient, like with how they're operating.
Well, I think some of the ways that they go about things are kind of old fashioned. And I wonder how this current generation is going to respond to that.
Yeah, so ridiculous. Actually, that's actually a good intro to our first. Why don't we do we can react to that video that I sent you and then we can just get into your story. Is that cool?
Sounds great.
Amazing. Yeah, these I can't believe how heavy they are about the anti-LGBT stuff. We were kind of chatting about that before before the stream started. And we got a great clip. This is I mean, it's a terrible clip. It's terrible that this is in the culture, but let's watch it.
Okay.
In fact, Sally's experience is one that stands out for me.
So by the way, people watching, she's noticing all these like LGBT bracelets. Let's continue.
Hi. Would you like to make a donation to the marathon?
No, thank you.
This is so bad, by the way, too, because the first boardroom, like this serious boardroom of people, they're sitting here being like, yeah, we like what Sally did, or like whatever this girl's name is, Sally. Was that her name?
I forget.
In fact, Sally's experience
sounds like Sally, or maybe it's Salah or Sally. Sally's experience. Yeah, I think it's Sally.
In fact, Sally's experience is one that stands out for me.
Yeah, it opens with the LGBT bracelet.
Hi. Would you like to make a donation to the marathon?
No, thank you.
It's classic conservative propaganda. The first time she's just polite. The first time she's polite. It's okay. Very well shot, I gotta say. It's beautifully shot.
Shall I put it in the bag or do you want to wear it now?
Wow.
No, thank you.
They wouldn't do that. No, they're not going to do
honey?
that.
You got something against them?
Well, no, I don't have anything against him personally.
So what's the problem?
I respect that they have a right to choose their lifestyle, but as a Bible reader,
Excuse me. I'm a Bible reader too. I go to church, and our church is one of the biggest supporters for this marathon. So what are you trying to say?
So drama.
Displaying courage now will help me display courage in the future. Well, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and we believe the Bible teaches sex is for a man and a woman who are married.
Intolerant people.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're so cringy, these conservatives. We should stop and just talk about it for a second. I might have played it too long, but that is what a drama. Like the shots and everything are so like, it makes, as a filmmaker, I just feel like, man, I gotta really step up my game. I gotta shoot more stuff. You can turn a story out of anything. This is not a story.
I actually thought she was going to come out at the end.
Yeah, I know, right? I thought she was gonna hook up with the first brown girl. I thought the two of them were gonna fall in love and be like, yeah.
Yeah, the way they had her like her hair and everything. I thought, oh, was she gonna hit on her or something?
Yeah, it looked good. It looked like nice. It looked like how it like in real life how it would be, which is like nice and kind of like casual. This is very aggressive. Should I put the bracelet in, or are you gonna wear it after? It's like just cool it. Like I could even be at a store like this and be like, hey, I haven't decided yet. You know what I mean? And it would be like a silly conversation. It wouldn't be like, but nobody would ever say like, so you're gonna get the lesbian bracelet, right? You have to wear it. You have to wear the lesbian bracelet. Wear it. Put it on right now. Like who does that? That's ridiculous.
Well, and at the end, they have the brothers sitting around a table, like saying how great she was because she leaves tracts at people's doors. Like then, everything's about works, what you have to do to earn favor, right? So at the end, they were saying like, oh, she stood up for her beliefs and she goes out in service all the time. She's like an upstanding citizen.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's what a ridiculous boardroom.
Wow. That sure took courage. That's what I told her. And I asked her to think about when the political powers destroy false religion. At that time, people won't want to admit that they're religious. And so for us to admit that we're Jehovah's Witnesses then, well, that's going to require the same type of courage that she displayed at that market.
Wow. I remember when Sally was just a little girl handing out tracts. And now look how well she's done.
Wow.
Speaking of tracts.
Speaking of tracts, what's tracts? That's like your route for like going and asking for donations or signups.
Well, there's tracts that have different topics on them that we used to have to give out, and they were always free. And then there was magazines and books. So there's like levels of literature that you are supposed to give to people. Now, when I was a kid, we actually sold them for 15 cents each. We used to sell the magazines, The Watchtower and Awake, for 30 total. So it was a deal.
Man, I never paid for them. I always got them for free. But you guys were doing that and you're just scamming like little 5-year-olds.
No. When we were kids, they actually did charge for literature.
Oh, they did charge. Okay, cool.
So we had to collect money and then we'd have to turn it in.
That's weird. It's like you haven't converted me yet. You're going to charge me for this shit?
Yeah, and then they went free at some point. I think people weren't paying for it any longer, and so they decided free.
When they came after me, it was free, man. Because I'm like, I'm just home alone as a kid, and these guys are coming to my house. So I don't think I was giving them money. I was just listening to, I was like, these stories killed. I loved it. I thought it was like great stories.
I've been out so long that there was no technology when I left. So there was definitely no videos like this. There was no internet when I left. There was no support when I left. There was nothing. So all these videos and the JW.org, that's all new to me. And like watching it now is just.
It's like discovering the internet. You're like, there's more than JW.org. Like we thought JW.org was the internet.
Well, and they always talked about how that would probably have been like part of the world to be on the internet. And then they embraced it clearly as time went on as a way to like proselytize and share their beliefs, but and to manipulate people into doing what they want.
This is good propaganda though. Like a world in turmoil. How can you cope? That's good stuff. I mean, it's bad stuff, but it's like so. I guess people just have this natural anxiety and that's why they join.
Yeah. And I think what they do is they appeal to some kind of promise of something they weren't getting out of whatever religion or whatever spiritual faith they had before. So like, for example, my parents were, my dad was raised Catholic and they came to my parents' house and knocked on my parents' doors when I barely was born and promised them a paradise earth where they'll never grow old, they'll never get sick and die. And so they're like, wow, this sounds great. And then they shared all the things that are wrong with Catholicism to them. And they thought they had found the truth. And that's, what they call their beliefs at this time. And so it's so interesting that they slowly get into people's minds and like, it's not quick. It's not like, hi, you're, introducing all these things. It's very, very slow. So it's a manipulation.
Yeah, no, they're there for the long game. Natalie's saying that the people in the video wouldn't be that nice. I don't know. I always found them very sweet. They had a Ned Flanders-iness to them, but then inside maybe they yell at each other more. I don't know. Like, how was it inside versus outside? Was it like that? Because that boardroom, they were very like that polite, nice Ned Flanders-y thing. And I've always noticed them to be like that. Like my friend growing up, like one of my best friends growing up, he got into it. Like we were like hanging out all the time. And then we had to stop hanging out because he was Jehovah's Witness. He got too serious in it. And then I remember for years, and we're like in this is like grade 8. Like, so we're young and we're just spending our like lunch times arguing like, no, the Jehovah's Witness is right, and you guys don't know what you're talking about, and you're gonna go to hell. Like we're just like going into these debates, but we're like kids, you know what I mean? But his arguments were tight though. Like I have to say, like looking back, none of us were prepared. He would always get us. He was like, haha,
Well,
I got you.
We're trained, so we got a book
Yeah,
that
you're trained.
go to
Damn.
Bible system,
This guy was getting trained? I have no idea. Sorry.
Yeah, he was. From childhood, we were trained. We had a book that if this person said this, this is what you say. If this person says that. And so then they taught us that we're like blood guilty if we're not witnessing to our friends at school, because don't you know they're going to die in Armageddon. So we have got to now talk to them. So there's pressure. And I remember being in high school and bringing a book to a girlfriend in high school that I thought would be receptive and talking to her. Because honestly, I couldn't be friends with her. So like school for me was absolute torture because it was a reminder of like the whole world that I couldn't be part of. You know?
Oh man, that is like being brown too. There's so much being brown. Like you're just going to high school, like especially like for the girls, like they go and it's like everyone's dating and hanging out, and you're just like, am I allowed? I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of sneaking around in J-Dubs because we can't live like a normal life and do the activities we want to do. And I remember being a child and having my little card to play field hockey. And I wanted to play field hockey so bad. And I remember bringing it to my parents and them being like, no, you know what I mean? Like can't play field hockey because it incites the spirit of competition. And so,
wow.
But what's interesting is my own father was a All-American goalie and a soccer player and went to college with a scholarship for soccer and played sports his whole life and denied us the ability to do that same thing. And so
your dad.
My father did, yeah.
Wow, but you know what happened? That's so sad. And listen, I have another show called Public Forgiveness. It's always good to forgive, you know? You know what happens to these people? You're like this is what I found about all these cults. They're so good at getting like actors. They like look at Scientology, it's full of actors, right? It's like artists, actors, anyone who's going through something unknown, uncertain, like these like autoimmune diseases, they get them because it's almost like your dad maybe was like so heartbroken about not being a professional soccer player that he's like, let me just because that's probably what appealed to him. Like, they're right. Like we shouldn't go into these things because look at me. I spent my whole life playing soccer and it didn't amount to anything. You know, there's like a lot of actors like that too, that like one day you meet them and they're like, yeah, I'm doing Scientology now. And it's like, no, but if you think about it, we all just want to be you know what I mean? Like they buy in almost. Even the people that were next to him, it's like their careers were starting to dwindle. And then this guy's like, no, but you have a career with God. Don't worry about your Hollywood, you know? So I don't know. Yeah, that's too bad that your dad wanted to be a soccer player. Like, how far did he get? And then when did they get him?
Oh, I mean, he could have gone professional, but he was afraid of getting injured and other things. So no, he could have been professional. He was all American goalie. Like he was legit. Like, yeah. And so yeah.
And then he just comes in one day and says, but God is great. I cannot play. God is great. How can we compete? What do you mean, dude? It's a game. Just play. That's irresponsible, man. I hate that. I remember one of our friends could have played like professional baseball, and then he just dated this girl. Who's like, no, but then you'll leave, and he didn't go play.
Oh my gosh,
he didn't take a scholarship or anything. Yeah, they're both just broken. Like he wanted to go with her, and but she's just too scared. She's like, no, but then you won't love me anymore, and just talked him out of it.
Well, it's so ironic. There's a couple things that are ironic about it is that like my father was an immigrant and came from nothing, right? So when he came to this country, he was afforded opportunities that weren't in his home country of Italy at the time. He grew up on a farm. He was very poor. So he comes here, has this opportunity to get education and to play sports and to have all these things happen. But like for us, we weren't allowed to play sports. We weren't allowed to go to college.
That's wild.
We weren't allowed to do any of those things because the witnesses told him that that's a bad idea. And they believed it.
And he got into it. He's like,
my mom and him both drank the Kool-Aid at the same time.
So what's the brainwash process we're talking about here? You know, that's like one of the questions I always want to ask everyone. Is like, what's the brainwashing here? Like, how are they getting this guy? He's going to be a professional athlete. And then they got him. Like, what's the teachings that you think that got him like, you know what? God is great.
Well, I think he stopped doing soccer at some point and he became an educator. So he was a teacher when they did knock on his door. So that part of his life was kind of over at that point. But I think what they do is they promise you this this loving God named Jehovah. They promise that you're going to live forever on the earth. Okay, you're going to live in this paradise, and that you have to do certain things to get there. So it's all based on works. It's not based on grace at all. So everything is that you have to earn it. But they start slow. So they start with a study every week. And my parents were kind of living like a very hippie lifestyle at the time. So I think it helped them like kind of like reel themselves in and become like more responsible parents, and probably maybe help their marriage as well. And then it's a slow indoctrination, because you don't just somebody knocks on your door and then you disown your child, you know, a week later. It doesn't happen that way. It's very slow.
It's
And so the women, and the
we're
women
willing
that
to
knocked
play
on the
that
door
long
were
game.
Yes, they're very kind, and they were very inviting and very loving. And they talk about love bombing. So when people go into a Kingdom Hall and they're new, you can usually spot the men because they might have a beard. You can usually spot, you know, people that, and women might be wearing pants, and people are like, oh, they're not witnesses, and they're just gonna like love on them. So you get love bombed, and you think like, this is gonna be like amazing for my family. I've been missing out on the truth my whole life, and so they feel like
that's how they got me almost. They call it flirty fishing too.
Do they?
Yeah. But sorry, what's the last thing you said? Say that again.
Oh, no. So it's just saying, so they're not like on your first time, you know, they're saying, you know, down the road, if your kid doesn't do what you want them to do, you're going to disown them, right? They don't reveal the other things. They don't talk about the governing body. They don't talk about all of the things that can get you disfellowshipped. They don't do all that. You know, it's very, very kind and like from a position of love. But then over time, you start learning about this very vengeful God, this very hateful God, this very like this God that if you don't do X, Y, and Z is going to destroy you. And that's the reality.
Wow.
And that's what I grew up believing in, because I was so young. I never was raised any other religion, right? So all I knew was that if I don't do this, then I will die. And as a child, I found a diary of mine from when I was a child. And it's very upsetting because in it, sorry if I get emotional today.
It's okay.
I was talking about the fact that I was afraid I was going to die in Armageddon. And I was like 11 years old. Actually, I have 11-year-old twins. This is the age of my boys right now. And I was worried about dying in Armageddon if I didn't do certain things.
I'm sorry that they told you that. They told me that too. It's crazy. They told me that because I'm Hindu, like you'll just die. You get no favor. And for a minute I believed it. You know, I had to talk to someone else that was like, that doesn't make sense, you know, like, or I had to think about it more or whatever. But yeah, they were trying to teach me that like this Hindus, you're all going to go.
Well, I used to sit in school, and part of the reason I was so depressed is I went to school with, you know, Catholics and Jews and all these different religions. And I would legitimately sit in school and think like, this girl who's my friend is going to die. Right.
Yeah.
And I imagine that, because they would also, like Natalie showed you all the pictures of the Armageddon pictures where everybody's dying. I would think my friend's going to die. And so this God I believe in is going to destroy her if she does not become a Jehovah's Witness. And
that's
so
wild.
Turmoil as a child that you're looking at other people, you're seeing friends, you want to be friends with them, you can't, but then you think they're going to die. It's very upsetting. It's very emotionally terrible to do to a child.
That's the brainwashing. Then the brainwashing is like, because that's how they almost got me too. They'd come to the door and they'd be like, and it is like a long game too. I talked to them for like months, actually, for months, and I wanted to go. And I think I talked to my sister, and she's like, oh, you just want to, you're like, you just think it's cool to be white or something. Like my sister had to be like, it's fine. And like, don't worry. Like people think you're cute because you're brown, you know, like she just thought it was like, oh, you like Jesus because he's white or something. Like she thought it was like a weird thing. Like she had to like talk me out of it. Like, no, you're good. And just made me feel more confident or whatever. But they were trying to really play on that. Like, you got to join our team or else the world's going to end. And as a kid, you're just terrified. Like, look at this. I thought my family was so stupid too. Like I thought my parents were like, what are you doing? You know, we're going to all die.
Yeah.
In this Hindu thing. Like, And I'm like telling like there was like a phase, like probably 4 or 5 months they were coming, and there's probably like a couple of weeks where I'm trying to tell them like, oh, so you think it's an elephant? What are you thinking? Like I'm like getting mad at them, like, you think this guy's real? But
Right.
no, it's weird.
But when you're a child, you don't have the ability to reason and to think ahead. You're in the moment, right? And so I think part of this is that a lot of Jehovah's Witness children have to be suffering mentally. I mean, you can't not. And I feel like there's probably a mental health crisis with young people because you're told constantly that you're not good enough, right? And you've got to keep doing more. And if not, that will happen. Like, I remember these pictures. They're imprinted, unfortunately, in my mind.
Wild. Like, this front woman is just, like it's just the whole world, it's all falling apart.
And there would be babies. There'd be women holding babies and they're being destroyed. And so as a child, my father was so strict that we weren't even allowed to draw during the meetings. And remember, we went at that time, we were going 3 times a week. We had a family study and we had to go out and service like 1 or 2 times a week. So it consumed pretty much.
Oh my God. That's so much work.
Oh, it was so much. And so, because my father was an elder, so we were like the model family, right? And so sitting in the meetings, I mean, I remember just counting tiles in the ceiling because I was so bored, but we had to pay attention. And so the only thing we could look at was the Bible story book. And so I remember being a child and just starting from the beginning and trying to memorize it because I was going out of my mind sitting in all these meetings and listening to things that children have no business listening to. Adult topics, because there is no Sunday school. There is no, special things for children.
They don't do separate stuff for kids?
No, not at all. You are adults and children are all in the same room the whole time.
What? Come on. That's so boring for the poor kid.
Oh, we would hear about everything from pornography to masturbation to all things topics like whatever was going on, sexual immorality, fornication. We heard it all at a young age.
No. Oh my God. And then they wonder why you're like she's thinking about sex. Can you believe it? It's like you've been doing, they do all those stories. They just do it in front of you. So you're like, you're 6 years old, 7 years old. Like what age?
Oh my God. I mean, my whole life I was in it. I've been in it my whole life. I was in my whole life.
You're 6 years old and then you're in a room and then they're just talking about like, so these Anthony and Joanne were kissing and we saw them holding hands and I have a photo of it. And they show the photo and you're just like a little girl like, ooh, that looks fun. You're like one day I'm gonna.
Well, they love doing skits. So that's their favorite thing to do to manipulate people is they put on a skit. And I think I was part of a few skits myself. Unfortunately.
They're just doing these acting?
Yes, because as females, we weren't allowed to talk directly to the congregation. We could only talk to each other. We weren't actually allowed to look at the congregation. So we had to do skits together. And I mean, I remember my sister and I at one time, we started doing one together. We had to put on these little skits and we just started laughing hysterically. I mean, but it was supposed to be serious, but like, it was manipulation in a way to show like, look what would happen if you do this, look what will happen. And so they would play it out because there was no technology. So all they had was the dramas they would put on and the skits that women performed with other people. And
it was like, what? Yeah. So you do little skit. I mean, I guess that's kind of like, have you seen the cartoons they put out of like the kids that are like, they're like, it's wrong to be gay. Like they actually have quite a few of like anti, like homophobic ones, but they're like cartoons, like kids cartoons.
Right. So when we were a kid, they were just indoctrinating us with the books and the meetings, but now they're indoctrinating
the sketches.
People. Oh yeah. And I had,
but like you guys doing sketches, that's a big indoctrination. Like you acted in the sketch. That's so fun.
Yeah. So it was old school. I guess.
Why not put the kids in a separate room and say, hey, you guys do like a anti-LGBT sketch over in room B and room A. We're going to talk about the adult stuff, but no, one room, one meeting. This is where I'm like, how is Jehovah's Witness surviving? They, as a business, as like an organization, it's every story I hear, I'm like, sloppy guys, sloppy. This is one of the best things I've heard of them, actually. The sketches, make the kids do sketches. That's brilliant. I think it's great. Like they're acting, they're having fun. Give them a separate room and let them go off on that. Like let them make real art, you know?
Oh, I remember us making a golden calf and us doing some kind of Bible play or something. Like it was just crazy. It was crazy. That was like that was fun for us actually. The skits were the best part. Okay, let's be honest.
I gotta say, that's nice. I like that they do that actually. No,
And
any dances?
Did they have dances?
Yeah.
No, they weren't against dancing, but like, as we grew older, you couldn't dance like close to a guy or anything. You had to be like, 4 feet apart. But so listening to all that rhetoric, like growing up, it's like it's damaging because you're hearing things. And like, so for me, like what happened is like when I was 12, I had a same-sex experience. And so I wanted to tell my parents about it and wanted to talk to them about it, but I would hear things in the meetings that were just so like horrific. And I think I would shared some things with you that they say, and I wrote them down because I think people need to know they're not just against people in the LGBTQ community. It's actually quite horrible the way they talk about people and the way that children right now that are growing up are listening to this and in the meetings. And it's just very destructive. And so being a child and sitting in here and then thinking like, first of all, I'm going to die in Armageddon now, right? So that's what's going to happen. But they like some of the things that they say about people who are homosexual is they call them sexually degrading. They call them sick and perverted, gruesome, violent, and downright sadistic. This is all from their literature.
That's terrible.
Jehovah, vile, repulsive. They compare homosexual desires with molesting children. Very ironic.
So stupid.
They put it on the same level as bestiality. And then in the Caleb and Sophia video, which I saw, they basically show like somebody not going into paradise. So they're telling children now, like, if you even think like this, you're not going to go to paradise. You're going to die. And so children are hearing this. And for them to like, as a child to hear these things, I basically like coped. The way I coped was I pretended that what had happened never happened. Okay. And I blanked it out of my mind. I suppressed it completely. And to deal with it, I got baptized the following year because I thought that maybe if I'm baptized, then that will like absolve me of all this sin. And so
baptized in Catholicism, like in another religion?
No, I was.
Oh, and JW has baptism too.
Because I thought, okay, so you're also pressured, very, very, you're pressured as a child to get baptized. Like they're always saying like, what prevents you from getting baptized? And so I was like, my dad was an elder. I was supposed to be like a model child. And so people would be like, why aren't you baptized? You know, even though Jesus wasn't baptized until he was in his 30s, you know?
Wow.
So, I was only 13 years old and I made an adult decision.
Damn.
But
so
once you make that decision, you could have a list of things that you do wrong and you will get disfellowshipped for it. And so,
they pressure you. Young age, they pressure you. Damn.
Well, yeah. And so
because you're young, you want their love. You want the older people's love. You don't like when they're mad at you.
Oh, they were so happy for me. My parents told me that was the best day of their life. Was like they were the proudest of me the day I got baptized, right?
Yeah.
And they buy you a Bible with your baptism date on it, so you never forget. I mean, and like mine was in like 1988. So that just tells you that I was like an 8th grader. I just hung out with my niece who's in 8th grade. She's a child, right? Yeah, I can't believe I made this adult decision as a child. And
it's crazy how our parents like loved religion so much that they were like, as kids, they were like, yes, you believe in that.
Right.
Show how much you love. Like they're like, now we wouldn't teach our kids that. Like, you know what I mean? We're just like, no, you're good. Or even like the idea that like, yes, God's mad at you because you did this. You know what I mean? Like we don't teach that anymore. It's weird.
Right.
Well, and it's actually incorrect according to the Buddha and according to even a lot of Jesus's teachings. It's actually incorrect. You are loved unconditionally. It's opposite of what you're saying. You're saying that like, you're saying that they're saying that it's all this like, do this and then you have love. But according to Jesus, according to the Buddha, you have unconditional love. You don't need anything to have love.
That's right. And that's actually my spiritual belief today. My belief in God is that God is love and all loving. And so I cannot believe in this hateful, vengeful God because it is so destructive. It is so destructive. No, it doesn't. And you can never be good enough. You'll never be enough.
You can't win anyway. It's like you can't win with this guy. He's like watching you masturbate. Come on. It's like just chill, dude. You're not like you're weird. You're not cool. I don't care.
We would have a book called Young People Ask, and we would have to go through a chapter together about masturbation. We went through that with our parents, with the congregation, absolutely, about the wrongness of masturbation. We did.
So it was. Sorry, good.
Yeah, no, I mean, as a child, it was like, wait, I mean, I learned about it. I learned that word before I even knew what it was because I was a child listening to this stuff.
That's wild. So tell me, like, you're in this meeting. You're like 6 years old. You're 8 years old. You're in this meeting. And they go, and Timmy was masturbating behind the dumpster. And I got a photo of it. There's the photo. And we have to talk to, and you're just like, you're there. You're 6 years old. You're like, oh.
Like, yeah, I was like, what does that mean? And then you start like finding things out, and then you're like, the guilt and shame is unbelievable. It's like they instill it in you young so that you will feel shame around your own sexuality. You will feel shame about your own body. Women are definitely, like Natalie talked about, how women are definitely suppressed with, in their marriages or even in their, relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's like you are not women especially are taught are supposed to suppress their sexuality altogether. Nonetheless, have an attraction towards the same sex or a different sex. It doesn't matter what, they're just not supposed to be sexual.
Actually, Natalie just sent me a lesbian JW movie. Have you seen it? Have you seen the trailer for it?
I just saw the trailer.
Oh yeah, I sent it to you. Yeah, that's right. That looks pretty wild. That's so risque for them. What are they gonna? They're gonna have heart attacks. They're like, oh God! It won the Tribeca Festival Award. Oh God!
I love that. Well, and so the thing is like anytime you make a mistake, like so you're taught. You're remember you hardly have any days off, right? So you're constantly being downloaded with all this information. So you're told that if you don't tell on yourself, if you do commit a sin, then, you're going to die, right? But the only way that you can like not die is if you go to these men, you tell them what you did, and then they will decide your fate from there on out, right? So you don't necessarily have to get disfellowshipped right away. I had a few steps before disfellowshipping. I got reproved privately. There's something called private reproof, where if nobody knows what you did but you get private reproof, okay? And you lose privileges, okay? And they sit you down and they make you tell them exactly what you did. So in front of my father, I had to talk about
in front of your dad. Wait, how old are you? How old are you?
They were like, I was probably 15, 16.
Oh my God, it's too much.
Yeah,
this is abuse. They just
they wanted exact details of everything. This is my father.
When I was in Banff, they were every network, like huge festival, like Netflix is there, BBC, like all their head of development is there. And they're all like, we want YA, young adult, YA. Mm-hmm. This is the wildest shit of just having like the elders are like, you're 15 years old, tell your father. And you're like, I have a crush on a guy. It's like the worst. It is like such a Netflix drama. It's so bad. It's like so much.
So I got the private one first because nobody knew. Then, so the private one is like where you get reproved and it's not announced. Only like you've been reproved because it's private. Okay.
It's a little secret.
I went to a party with some J-dubs that lived in Jersey because I was in Philly at the time, and they call me the next day and they're like, we feel guilty about the party. You got to tell on yourself. And I'm like, because again, I kissed a guy. I had like a strawberry. So I'm
Jenifer. This is a JW party, and you made out with a guy, or you kissed a guy at the JW party.
It's a JW party.
It's a JW party. So you start kissing the guy, and they all go, oh my God, oh Jenifer.
The next day, they felt guilty, and they said, if you don't tell on yourself, we're calling your elders.
Oh, come on.
Mm-hmm. So I go to my elders, and again, they want to know specific details. Did he touch you under the shirt or over the shirt? I swear to you, it's
in front of your dad.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
It's in front of your dad.
Yes, in front of my father. They
humiliate. Oh my God.
they did this. And then, so the worst part is you get it. Now I got announced because more people knew about it. So my father made me show up for the announcement. Okay. So let me tell you what happened. They made the announcement about me getting publicly reproved. And then right after the reproof, they did what's called a local needs talk. Well, the local needs talk was on sexual immorality. So they talked about it and everybody assumed that I had had sex because and it was all around the congregation that I had sex and I hadn't done anything, right? But
the whole congregation,
the
whole community talking, whole community.
So I hadn't had sex until after I even left J-Dub. So it's like they shamed me again and I had to sit and listen to it. And my father made me show up and listen. And it was horrendous. And afterward, it was horrendous.
You kissed a guy.
Yeah, I kissed out. I made out with a guy. Yeah.
And your dad was like, so?
Yeah. No, but it's considered like loose conduct. So I kept getting in trouble for loose conduct.
Loose conduct, eh, guys? you're such a bad. Just like this, just like Natalie Grant. Look at Natalie's like just ready to go to the club right here. It's like once you get out, you're like, woo, let's rip, baby. That's it. Like you're out, you're like, I'm partying. What's this? I gotta tell my dad shit for what?
It's actually like a form of humiliation. And the thing is too, they also have, they would also tell people that Jehovah's favor is not on this congregation because of your sins.
Oh, come on. Yeah, because I made out with Timmy.
Yes. Absolutely.
One little makeout. It's like, hey, maybe you're doing services for the culture. Like you could be doing banger services.
Right.
But just you made out with that guy and it's all gone. God dropped everything.
Oh no. So I had to call the guy in Jersey and tell him I have to tell because I got told on, then I had to tell him he had to tell his elders. So he had a judicial meeting in Jersey.
Well, at least
it's a after that.
He never talked to you after that?
No, I had a crush on him. And I was like, I lost that one because
come on.
Yeah, we got in trouble.
It's like calling someone because you have an STD and then they don't want to be friends with you anymore. You're like, but I told you. You're like, but I said.
Yeah.
Wow, weird.
So
that's so weird. And then he didn't talk to you after that. And then, but it's so weird though. Like this is where the JWs are like so inefficient. Let me tell you, the Patels, the Hindus, they would see two Patels dating and they'd be like, okay, they're getting married. And the whole culture would get behind you and be like, this is great. You're in love. Let's go. Married. And they just make sure you get married. That's an efficient culture, I feel like. That's how you're going to grow your numbers. That's how you're going to move ahead. What's the end result of all this? Like they're shaming you in front of your dad. He's not talking to you anymore. Like he's just like, oh, well, I'm going to get in trouble now, so I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's like there could have been a little love flourishing here.
Right. I think I was too young at the time. I was probably like 16 or 17.
Okay,
you aren't allowed to date in J-Dubs. You can only have
as if they care about that. Like that
yeah,
you're 16. Like
you can only you date to marry, right? So you have to be with a chaperone the whole time. So you're never allowed to just go out to the movies with the boy that you like, or you're never allowed to go anywhere with someone that you like. You're just not allowed. It's not permitted. Even if you're in your 20s, you still have to have a chaperone. It's not like anything. And like so many people get married at 20 because they want to have sex. Let's be honest. Like they want to have sex and they get married. Yeah.
Just to bang. That's it.
Yeah. I mean,
what a terrible marriage.
Right. I mean, that's the pressure that they put on young people. And so a lot of young people get married very, very young. And your choices are limited. So there's not that many people, you know what I mean, to choose from.
Very arranged marriage. I mean, everything you're saying, I'm just like, this is brown people, like a generation, like the last generation, now unacceptable. A generation ago, they were doing this shit too, where they're like, okay, we'll have a chaperone watch you and you can both have a date. And like you'd have a date with the chaperone in the room.
Right. So
what do you think's gonna happen? Like you're in the next room, you psycho. I remember I was like early in my career, I was casting something like as a filmmaker, and this girl came, this Punjabi girl came, but she was like Miss Brampton, whatever. And her grandfather came, and her grandfather's like, no, I have to come in the audition room. What do you think, dude? There's like 3 women on this casting board. What do you think is going to happen? This is crazy.
Right.
It's very inefficient.
Well, and so as I grew older, I mean, so I already had 2 strikes. Okay. So I'm giving the what led to me being kicked out, basically, is I already had 2 chances to like get it together. Okay. And I was 18 years old and I started thinking, you know what? I started going out like to 18 and older clubs and kissing more guys and being around more people. And I tried drinking and, trying just being a normal teenager. And so I went and I told my parent, and this is the other thing is that I was suffering from a lot of mental like depression being in the religion. So I went to my parents and was basically like, these are the things I'm doing. I'm struggling. I'm very depressed and I need help. And so I told them that I was kissing a lot of guys because I wasn't sure if I like guys or I like girls. And I think I'm trying to prove to myself I like guys. So they said to me, you need to talk to the elders. They turned me in.
So you were lesbian. You even were saying that you had a lesbian experience, and you felt scared to tell them about it. And then you're like, "Oh, I just keep kissing all these guys."
Trying to figure myself out, and they said to me, "You need to talk to the elders." So I go into the elder meeting, and I tell them like everything. I'm just like letting it all out, like anything I've ever done, like everything.
Yeah.
I did this, So I'm telling all.
And then I kissed Tom on the lips behind the dumpster at the camp, and then I made out with Steve. And you're just telling the guy, he's like,
I'm just
okay.
unloading on them. I'm unloading,
Okay.
and then I did. So what happened was at that point, I told them about the same-sex experience that happened to me, and they were just like floored. And so they were like, "Okay, well, will you promise us that you will never do this again?" And I'm like any of it, like, and I was like, well, no, I can't promise that. I liked it. Like, I like these things that I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like I was just being a teenager. So they met for a very brief period of time. They came back in and said, I'm sorry, you're getting disfellowshipped and you're going to be announced on Thursday. So
they announce it. It's like Squid Games with God.
Oh my gosh. So not only that, but it gets worse. My parents couldn't accept that I was getting disfellowshipped, and they filed an appeal. You can actually have an appeal.
Oh my God.
In a room with 3 different elders and tell the same trauma. I mean, the same situation again. I was traumatized a second time in a row, only for them to tell me, yeah, she's getting disfellowshipped.
What the fuck is this shit? This is where Jehovah's Witness. I'm like, y'all are not gonna make it like this. Like this, it's like another driver's license. Like what a hassle a driver's license is, or a mortgage, or like whatever. It's a hassle. They're adding such a hassle on your life. It's like, well, we have to. I'm applying for disfellowship. It's like, no, apply for a grant.
Right.
Apply for money. Apply for funding to shoot a movie or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta apply for disfellowship. I gotta apply for them to relook at this fellowship. What are you thinking? I get that's where I honestly I feel like Jehovah's Witness, it's got to be on the decline. Like this is so extremely inefficient as a society.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's like more people are getting kicked out, I think, that are joining. It has to be. I mean, their numbers are never correct. Like if you look at their numbers, nothing adds up. Nothing adds up. It doesn't.
Nothing adds, no.
And the sad part is because there was no support, because there was no advocacy, because there was no internet, I was literally by myself. I mean, when they say that, like they had till Thursday to say my goodbyes. I said my goodbyes to my family. I mean, my friends and my closest friends and everybody that I had been friends with, because I wasn't allowed to be friends with anybody else. And I had 3 days to say goodbye to everybody. And then that was it. And it was to the point where I was living at home still at the time. My parents had friends over that were Jehovah's Witness, and they told me, you better go upstairs because they were ashamed of me. Like I couldn't be there. They
said go upstairs. Oh my God.
That's why they had their party. So I'm sitting upstairs and I'm like, that's it. I'm moving out. And I got my stuff together and I moved out shortly after that because it was the most damaging thing emotionally that you can do to somebody is to act like they're not alive when they're alive.
No, that's
I was the living dead. I was the living dead.
That's not right, man. That kind of shunning, that's not right.
Yeah. And the thing is, I was one of the first people that was disfellowshipped out of my group. So at the time, nobody else left. I was the only one. Now all my close girlfriends are all out, right? But that's years later. And so at the time, I was the only one that left. And so it was, it's literally like throwing you out to the wolves. I was raised in this bubble.
And how old are you at this point?
18. I was 18 years
18,
old.
yeah. Chris Robinson did the show like maybe a couple weeks ago. He was 18 too, and he just went headfirst into comedy. But his dad was like, "You got to go."
Yeah,
because he did like a comedy routine. Wild, man. What? Like, this is where I'm just like, Jehovah's, you're losing people.
Right.
What's all these games? You're traumatizing your people. You're losing them. Like, you look at even a religion like Islam or most, like you want to keep it numbers up. You want to get the numbers up all the time.
Right.
And this is extremely inefficient. Like they're shunning all the time and they're like kicking people out. It's weird. But I guess they're kicking you out. It's almost like this weird psychological game where they're kicking you out, but you can apply to get back in. Like,
oh, yeah.
So it's like, well, you're going to go out and you're going to learn how to get back in now or some shit.
Well, I think that's why a lot of people, they talk about the physically in, mentally out kind of thing, or mentally, you know what I mean? So I was physically out, mentally in, even though I left and I was not happy with it and I didn't really subscribe to it. And the first thing I did, of course, was celebrate my birthday and all the holidays and like that kind of thing. I didn't realize how wrong it was until years later, because there was nothing for me to read there was nothing for me to like read and learn about to learn how wrong the religion is. Do you know what I mean? And the fact. And so I have now, like, it took me years. And so I did go back and I sat in the meetings and people, I had this elder who was like looking after me. And I went for probably like 3 or 4 months back in Pennsylvania. And
oh my God, 3-4 months you went back.
I went back for 3 or 4 months. Nobody would talk to me. They looked at me like I was dead. I mean, like it was like I didn't exist. And I did that just to get back in my parents' favor because I couldn't handle losing my family. I could not handle it. I could not handle it. But I was never there long enough to get back in because you have to go for at least 6 months and until they tell you, you promise them everything they want to hear. And you know what? It's like my mom even said to me down the road, why didn't you just tell them what they wanted to hear? And do you know what kind of slap in the face that is?
That's not right.
Yeah.
I got to be nicer to my mom. I just got into a fight with my mom today. It's like, man, even Chris Robinson was saying like 2 weeks ago, he's like a dude. He's a kid, but he was saying like, I was like, what's the hardest part about it? He's like, man, I miss my family. I don't get to talk to my family. He misses them. That's a lot. That they won't talk to you. What the fuck is like? It's crazy.
The worst thing you can do is strip somebody of their family. Those are the people that you trust, right? You trust your parents, and they don't just strip people from their immediate families. They, and my siblings as well. I was estranged from. They strip you from your regular, like. So my family's Italian. Remember, I said my dad's Italian immigrant. His Italian family came over here. They separated us from them. So when I'm kicked out, I don't even have a relationship with them to fall back on. I'm literally by myself.
That's That's hurtful. That's not right.
And I feel like I survived, I'm going to be honest, but not without wanting to kill myself and attempting to kill myself. I mean, it was really dark. And I think it is a violation of human rights to do this to people and young people. And this is happening to teenagers. This is happening to young people. 8.5 million people worldwide are doing this to other people and to children.
It's just so inefficient. Like it's just abusive. It's not even like, I guess the main religions are like, that's the difference maybe. Like this seems like a system of abuse, but like a gaslighting kind of abuse that will make you never forget. Like you're just like, oh, how do they get the kids? Oh, because we get their parents to take their love away. So for the rest of their life, they're with us. It's like, that's like, there's such better ways to live, like you can be growing your numbers. You could be thinking about how big you can grow. Instead, you're just taking the people you have and kind of abusing them and putting them through these cycles. It's so inefficient.
Yeah, and I thought to myself, like, I mean, I was such a good witness. Like, on my summers, I stood on street corners at 6 a.m. and handed out magazines and tracts to people. On Saturday mornings, I'd wake up. Saturdays and Sundays, I used to auxiliary pioneer. My parents sent me to West Virginia, or I went to West Virginia, I don't know, a couple summers in a row, and went where the need is great, where there was unassigned territory. And I was threatened. People came out with shotguns and said they were going to kill us. I mean, some guy sicked his dog on me. I got attacked by a dog in West Virginia in the Appalachian Mountains by this man. And do you know what I thought? I mean, the dog attacked me, thank God. Like, he ripped my dress open and they like grabbed me and I was okay. And you know what I thought to myself? Oh, good, I get to go home for the rest of the day. I don't have to attacked by a dog.
You're like, oh, Jehovah's Witness rule number 262.
Yeah, I get to go home now.
I'm going home.
And
I get to have McDonald's on the way. Oh, McDonald's. Forget about McDonald's.
No, we used to literally fake knock. We were like, at the end, me and my friends were like, we don't want to do this anymore. You know what it's like, knocking on your friend's house from school and then being like, what? Like, they already thought I was weird. And so to add that, we'd be like doing the fake knock. Oh, not at home. You know what I mean? Like, why do you have so many not at homes?
Oh my God. So many not at homes, eh? They're like, well, you're going at 6 o'clock. You should have 60% not at homes. So we'll be following you. They are such a bunch of it's crazy how like you can just take something inefficient, unproductive, nobody's benefiting from it, but a bunch of people have bought into it, so they're like, we got to keep it going. Like, the parents are all just like, this is actually a crazy thing that Natalie sent me. She texted this to me today. I can't believe these like this. Wait, Jehovah's Witness? No, this one. This article where it's like the Jehovah's Witness scandal. I said he's a pedophile. The elders mumbled, yes, we know. Like, it's just like the parents are in on it. It's just so terrifying when you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah, they know about that. And then they're like, yeah, we know. We're like, well, what do you think? You're smart? We already knew that. This article is awful. I'm going to just post a link in the thing if people want to read it. Did you read this article?
I did read that article.
It's so depressing. But
it all gets back to the witness rule, that there has to be people there present. I mean, that's just a recipe for disaster. When I was a kid, I knew about friends of mine that were being abused, and not necessarily sexually, but emotionally and physically abused, pretty badly. One was an elder son, and he was being abused, and nothing was done. Nothing was done. And the thing is, if people came forward, who's going to witness sexual abuse or molestation? Nobody's going to do it in front of somebody else. It's not going to happen that way. It's behind closed doors. And so they don't follow up with things. It's a system that's set up to fail. And they don't.
Yeah, no, they're not.
So if somebody is a child molester in that neighborhood, they will not go to the authorities and report that person, so they can be like, in California, you can see everybody on a map on your phone who's a child molester in your neighborhood, right? Because of Megan's Law. And they will not report child molesters to the authorities. They keep it sealed. And I know that's been spoken of before, but it's creating a cycle of abuse and a culture of abuse of children.
Yeah, no, this is the real, like, I guess even you could say like Catholic Church too. There's Hindu temples. There's definitely a Buddhist temple, Shambhala, that's in trouble right now. Like, it's crazy how many people just do that. And then it's almost like, as a culture, we feel sorry for the religion. We're like, well, we don't want to bother them.
Right.
Like, how much right now, like we were just talking before the show about Ben Shapiro and all these like anti, oh, they're grooming our kids to be gay. And it's like, no, like the grooming's coming from the religious people. They're grooming like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's all this like anti-propaganda from conservatives. So it's weird. It's like, how, I guess the weird thing now is like, how do we get people to care about this again? Because even with Catholic Church, it seems like, I remember back in the day, it's like all of it came out that like the Catholic Church is doing this thing. Then everyone did jokes. And then nothing changed. Like, everyone did joke, like it was in the news, and then everyone did jokes. And then like the jokes even got like hack, but it's still happening. I've never seen it happen. Like, the jokes are actually hacked. Like, the jokes are actually like, okay, we've done all these, the Catholic priests, whatever jokes, but they haven't stopped because nobody cares. Or not, it's not that nobody cares. People just feel so bad for them. They just feel bad for like, oh, it's a religion, so we don't want to bother them.
Well, they talk about the witnesses love to put down Catholicism. I mean, that's like their favorite religion to rag on. Like they
Of
always
course.
say about Catholicism, but like the Catholic priests, at least I mean, this is horrible. I mean, they would move them around, right, to other places. So they would continue to molest these children. The J-Dubs are no different. They will take away maybe privileges if they even do that, and then they reinstate the person. They continue. It's not like it stops. They still trust them. Like I was trusted with men all the time, and I'm just grateful that nothing happened because nothing was ever thought of because my parents were like, they're a Jehovah's Witness. They're a good person, right? They didn't see that people are people, right? And so we were trusted with men all the time. I mean,
that's wild that nothing happened with the Jehovah's Witness because like you're out there, like you're out there. You know what I mean? Like if one of them was a little bit cool, there could have been like a little love affair, but they were all a bunch of weirdos, eh? Like so when they send you out with this guy, like what is it like? None of them hit on you.
No, I'm saying like they trusted us around grown men. Like we were around people that as children, like we were exposed to people that thank God never did that.
What's the grooming? What's the move? Did they try to holler at you? Did they try to do it? Or no, not even.
No, I'm saying like nothing ever happened with me, but I know friends that did, or siblings that did. So things did happen because if you're an elder, you're a respected man, whether like they don't question it. If you're a ministerial servant, you are a respected man because you are a ministerial servant. So you are trusted around these children. And that's why these children are getting molested because people have blinders on and they're trusting them based on their position in the congregation.
Wow. It's just like I mean, that is one of those things that's out there too. That it's terrible. So 8 million people are in. Where can people go if they want to get out? Like, where can people go to join groups and be like, okay, I'm out. I want to not, worry about this. Is there a service? It's almost like we as not cult people. I mean, I kind of have a service myself. I'm trying to do more of my loving kindness service. Mm-hmm. I do oracle card readings as well, but like it's they're great. You're saying like you believe that God is love. That's what this is. It's all about like they call God the beloved, and it's just like this energy that we're all made of. And I feel like that is missing in the culture. Like, what are you doing stuff spiritually, and then is there a place where people can go to get that feel, or do you just think it's like just get them out? Because even when they get out, it's like they got to do something. Like they got to hang out. It's a big issue. Like you're lonely. Like this is the issue. You're out. I can't believe even Chris Robinson last week is saying like he misses his parents. I'm like, that's wild. Like as someone who's just had my parents, I'm like just annoyed by them all the time. I'm just like, get out of here. Like leave me alone, whatever. But like people are missing their parents. So it's like, there's clearly a spiritual need. Is there some alternate spirituality that you're doing? Or like, is there somewhere that people can go where they can meet people?
Yeah. I mean, like for me, I mean, the first time I had heard about any ex-J-Dub groups was like when I was on Facebook years ago, and there was a Facebook group, and I would go on there, and I found a lot of people on there, and just trying to find their way, right? Because it was just starting out. And I go on the ex-J-Dub Reddit channel a lot, and I like to support teenagers who are trying to get out, who also are struggling maybe with their sexuality or maybe with depression around their parents disowning them, or trying to figure out how am I going to couch surf now because my parents are going to kick me out and things like that. So those are definitely, and then there's definitely like the JW Facts and other websites that will show you all the information that is completely untrue, that they the lies that they spread and the hypocrisy of it all. And so I think that people now have
JW Truth is one of them. JW Truth,
JW Facts.
Oh, JW Facts. Let's check that out. Let me just pull that up.
Yeah.
Damn, so this is a bunch of people that are out of J-Dubs, and they're like protesting against it. Man, the website even looks like the original one. That's so smart. Jehovah will defend his people again during the war.
Oh, wait, the wrong one. Did I say the wrong? Is it .org, maybe?
This looks like pro Jehovah's. I was like, oh, they're using their thing to get people out. Damn, yeah, this is straight up. Watchtower's view of women. Jehovah's Witnesses belong to a patriarchal organization where women are to view men as their head. Okay. This is not the advocacy group.
Oh my God,
this is not the social justice group.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
They just put it on the website. It's like the first page. Women are to view men as their head. Watchtower articles continue to describe the role of women in terms reminiscent of mid-20th century American culture, whilst directing husbands to be loving of their wives. The results of a male-dominated religion can be tragic, with 3 areas particularly worthy of consideration: domestic violence, child abuse, and rape. Oh, wow. Interesting.
Right. So again, like women are to be, seen, not heard. We even in the congregation, when people sitting in the congregation, the male sits on the end and the woman has to sit on the inside, right? Because it's like showing his headship. And you're constantly reminded like of their authority. So women are definitely in domestic violence situations that they can't get out of because they're told to like forgive and forget, rather than admonishing the man that was doing things to them. And so there's so much cover up when it comes to children and women in this organization, that it's terrible. It's terrible.
Wow. But there's got to be other. Well, this is actually showing Watchtower, jwfacts.com. Doctrine is rarely the way to open the mind's eye of one of Jehovah's Witnesses to learn of. Interesting.
So Lloyd Evans.
So this is like an anti-group, I guess.
Yeah.
Like they were just saying that's how. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, this is good.
So the other one is, Floyd wrote that book. There's an 800. So this is what really brought me to the light. He had written this 800-page book, and I read every single page, and it went through the history of it all, and it went through each of the doctrines and like where it came from, like why men can't have beards, and I mean it really showed like all these things, like why we couldn't salute the flag, and it gets into like every doctrine and where it came from, and it was so enlightening for me because I had not really known about a lot of it. And so I've listened to quite a few of his, on his YouTube channel and things like that.
His name is Floyd. He has a YouTube channel.
Evans.
Right, Floyd Evans.
Mm-hmm. And he's a pretty prominent figure because he was an elder, and he came out and he really like blew the top off of a lot of things that I was questioning. In fact, after I read the book, I literally could not even like function for a few days because it was so overwhelming to me.
Because the programming, the psychological programming is brainwashed in. It's in your body, actually. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
That's what even even the show I'm pitching and like loving kindness meditation, it's about going into because they say that your traumas, which the Buddha calls samsaras or some scars or whatever, but they're like stored in you, and it just takes time, like.
Well, I'll never the thing is, I'll be honest, like I'll never be the same. Like I can get all the therapy and all the I have lots of skills now to deal with everything that happened, but it'll never go away. It will never. It is a pain that will always be with me for the rest of my life. But the thing is, like when I first came out, I went to therapists and I explained to them, I have no friends. I have no family. I'm on my own. I was told I was going to die because Armageddon's coming really soon, right? So you're in Satan's world now. And so I'm like going to therapists telling them this stuff. And they're like, oh, just talk to your mom. I'm sure it'll be fine. There was no awareness around cults and the damage that it does to people psychologically. And so it was almost like I had no help because then the therapist is just telling me to talk to my parents. And I'm like, you don't understand. They won't talk to me. Right. So it's very, I think today, I feel like therapists are more trained to deal with cults and people coming out of them, but there definitely needs to be more awareness around that and more mental health services.
Yeah. Actually, it was a really good class I took is Steve Hassan, I think. Hassan. I took his class. I have a certificate and everything from like I think it was like it was Steve Hassan. It was like an anti-cult thing. Hassan Cult. It'll come up if I do Hassan Cult. He has a great class. That's it. Yeah, breakdown. This is Steve Hassan. Steve Hassan, his name is Spotting a Cult: Hidden Hypnotism and Indoctrination in the Digital Age. Wow, cool. And that's on Mayim Bialik's YouTube channel. Sick. But this guy. Yeah, his class is incredible. He has a class on Udemy that I took, and it just teaches. He has a model called the BELT model. I think it's behavior control, emotional control, language control and something else. But it was like he breaks it down of like how to know if you're getting involved in a cult, and just like laying it out for you that like nobody should be telling you that you're not allowed to think this. It's wild to think, you know, like you just don't know, like you just don't know coming out. So he made a manual that's like, if anyone's telling you you're not allowed to do this, that's a cult. You know?
Well, do you know, I held on, like, I remember in my early 20s, so I had been out for a while, and people would call Jehovah's Witnesses a cult, and I still defended it. I still defended it despite everything because I couldn't accept it, right? So I was like, I remember
they kicked you out. They kicked you out. This is twice they kicked you out. They kicked your ass out, and you're like, no, you don't know. It's like, I'm gonna get back in, and then I'm gonna be one of the elders, and then I'm gonna show you. Wow.
That's how deep the indoctrination is, especially being a child, like raised that way. I really feel like it was imprinted on my brain, and it took so much work and so much recovery and rehab in a way to get myself back into a healthy place where I can have, you know, let go of that guilt and shame, and then, you know, not get upset every time I watch a movie that has a mother and daughter scene where they're like doing something together, because I'll never have that, you know? And so, you know, it's so crazy because a friend of mine, his father was really ill and he forgot who he was, right? And so I actually thought to myself, like, if my dad gets older and he forgets who I am, maybe he'll see me. I mean, this is the thing
my God.
to myself, like, because he will hang out with me.
I can't believe, like
this is real talk. I mean,
that's real talk, man. I mean, I couldn't believe even Chris Robinson was the same thing. Like he's like 30, he has a kid, he has a wife and a kid. And he's like he's a grown man. And he's just like, man, I miss my family. It's like, well, the worst thing, I miss my family. I got to hang out with them. And I'm just like, man, we're out here with these families that my mom loves, like she just lives for me. And I'm just like, leave me alone. What do you want me to mow the lawn? Leave me alone, man. Like, I'm just like, you're such a hard time. That's wild. We need to love each other, though. We need to love each other, and we need to love our parents.
I mean, I wish I didn't care. It would be easier, but I do. I have a big heart, and I'm an emotional person, and
You're a good person.
And I care. And now when I had kids, it was really hard. I'm going to be honest. Like, looking in their eyes and seeing what was done to me, I could never do that to them. I could never. There's just no, you know, to not be with them and to not be proud of them. Like when I went to college, and against my parents' wishes, my father told me I was still right before I got this fellowship, I went to college. And I'm a musician, and my piano teacher helped me fill out applications, and I navigated college on my own without any help, okay, and got myself enrolled. And my dad sat me down, I'll never forget, in a room, and he said, if you go to college, I'm going to lose my position as an elder.
Oh my God, dude. Honestly.
And he goes, and you know how much that means to me. And I was like, and here I am. I was like, I practiced like a set of songs for over a year because I was getting in a music program, and it was very, very difficult to get into. And I worked my butt off to get in. And it was like, wouldn't you be proud of me that I did this? Wouldn't you be proud of me that I did that? You know? And they weren't. They didn't support me. They absolutely did not support me going. Eventually, they thought it was, you know, okay, but I actually was a music major, and I started going to college for music at Temple University, which was like a difficult program to get into. And I was one semester in, I was still in, it was right before I was disfellowshipped. And one of the teachers said, I need you to sing religious music, because I'm doing a vocal class. So I have to take all kinds of music classes, right? Yeah. So I had a vocal class, and they were like, we need you to sing Ave Maria.
Oh,
and
my God.
So I'm like, well, with my little J-Dub brain, I went to my parents and told them, what am I going to do? Because I have this conscience. How am I going to sing Ave Maria? So my parents went down and talked to the professor. And they said, the professor was Jewish. She's like, listen, this is sacred music. This is choral music. She cannot be a music major unless she sings this Ave Maria.
You gotta sing Ave Maria. Come on. It's beautiful.
I know. I love
don't care. It's incredible music.
So what happened?
It's so good. And they're saying you can't sing it. You know, there's Buddhist teachers who teach that God is like, you know what? The closest thing to describe as God is like hearing a good piece of music. The best piece of music, when you hear it and it lifts your spirit, that's God. This is literally the opposite. It doesn't make any sense.
No. So when the professor said, I will fail her if she doesn't sing Ave Maria, my parents said, that's it. You're done with music. And I left my dream and changed majors, and I became an educator, which was not my dream. My dream was to play music, and I worked my butt off to get in, and I was one semester in and they got me kicked out basically.
Your dad, it's the same thing as what happened to your dad. It's just the same thing happens to dad and the kid. It's like he wanted to play baseball, and then they came in and they're like, no, like, you know, it's such a weird thing. It's like you think he'd push you to get into it.
Yeah. So I literally,
but you can still do it.
Yeah. And so I actually later on in life went back and got a music credential and became a music
Amazing.
teacher. So that was my like amends for like to myself for letting go of that dream at the time. But to somebody who's you know, who was then kicked out of the religion and everything I had ever worked for, I've played piano since I was 4. And to lose that dream because of a song that I couldn't sing was, and the amount of work I got in to get in there was not easy. And so I just, you know, I later on in life went back to school for music because I wanted to do that.
Of course, because that's what's in your heart, and that's what God wants you to do. God wants you to sing. Are you kidding me? That's what we're here to do, is sing and dance and do stuff with creative stuff like that. That's complete opposite. Wow, that's so silly. Wow.
I still think they're just afraid of people getting higher education, because if people actually get educated and start learning about things in the world, they're going to realize how terrible this cult is, and realize that this is not, these things don't add up. This is not truth.
Yeah, it's not. You can't sing Ave Maria. It's unacceptable. Can we play Ave Maria? I feel like Ave Maria might be even like open source. Ave Maria open source. We got it. It's so good. It's such a good track. I've seen it live too, like opera. I went to see it as an opera, Latin and English, solo and choir with lyrics. It's so old. It could be. Oh my God, it's incredible. How could they not let you sing Ave Maria? 18 million, 9 years ago. It's incredible. It's like the best music. Like, I mean, it's... Hold on. How could you not be allowed to sing it? Oh, you can sing this?
Well, this goes against everything they believe in. They don't want to sing to Mary. They don't even sing to Jesus. They only sing about Jehovah, really.
Only come on. No respect for this album. This is incredible music. It's so tight. It's like one of the great tracks of all time. Like, it'll be with us for like another 1,000 years, you know? It'll be remembered.
Worst part is I told on myself. I mean, yeah, I didn't have to say anything. I should have never said anything, but I didn't know.
It's okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. You know, this is... It's like everyone's life is like this play, you know, like we're here to like, it's, you know what these Buddhists teach is that we're actually here. It's like a loving kindness simulation, and the world is just coming up with these complex ways to make us feel like we're not love, so that we can remember that we're love again. So it's almost like the worse you're pulled down, the greater the feeling of like, oh, I am love again. You know what I mean? Like some people won't, like if you're in a family where they're teaching that since you're a kid, you just be like, I don't care. Whatever, Dad. You know, like I'm gonna join some like cult, or like they won't be into it. But it's like a lot of people. It's like when you come back from it, it's like you feel it. You know, you feel that more or appreciate it more, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like everything with the religion, you're earning love. I mean, my kids They don't have to do anything to earn my love.
No.
I love them unconditionally for who they are the moment they came out. And they didn't do anything, right? They just existed. And that's the way I think about loving my kids, because that's the way I feel like the God I believe in loves me. And it's not based on anything I do or don't do. And I have to remind myself that, because it's so entrenched in my thinking.
I do too, though. That's the weird thing. I know it's like you're in a cult and you got to write it. It makes sense for you, but I do too. You know, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. Like even these so that's why it's so great to talk to people like you, like people who've been in cults. It's like there's like a wisdom of like you're in a more exaggerated version of what the rest of us are into. You're in a very exaggerated version, and then you get to come and be our teachers of like, well, if I can remember after this, then you can remember after your little. Because really, all my problems just seem like a smaller version of it, you know. It's not that bad. Like my mom didn't want me to be an actor too. Like she was just like she told me I was too fat. I mean, it's not like as bad as what happened to you, but it's like she told me I was too fat, and like she's like, you're not gonna make it, whatever. It's like it's a weird issue where you're like, even now I'm like shooting videos or whatever, I got to do something, and it's like I have this anxiety about it, or like a weird feeling, you know. So but yeah, it's very relatable.
Well, and then you meet people you don't know. Somebody meets me, they think, oh, you got this great life and you've done this and you've done that. They have no idea the things that I, went through as a teenager. And like, you don't know when you see somebody what they've been through. You know what I mean? I wasn't cheerleader at school because I wasn't allowed to be one, right? I wasn't the girl that was popular girl in school because I couldn't have friends, right? I was like, I was this outsider, looking in all the time at something I wanted to be part of that I could never be a part of, right? And so then it's like, you just don't know when you meet somebody what they've been through. And it's hard, like when I'm dating or whatever else, like to explain my story, because people are like, oh, let's hang out. Why are we hanging out with your parents? Or why are we doing this? And it's like, then you got to tell them, like, it's almost like, oh God, I usually wait a while because it's like, it's almost embarrassing. Like what I've gone through, and the fact that my family won't talk to me based on a religion, even though I'm a productive member of society. I'm a loving mom. I work hard. I'm a good person. That's not enough.
Yeah, you've done more, actually, not less. You've done more than everyone else, actually.
And their whole dream for me was to go work for free at Bethel. That would have been their job,
Oh my God.
Preach where the need was great, because I was good at preaching because I did so much of it. So they thought that was their goal for me, never to like get educated, never to excel in life, or get ahead, or find fulfillment in different things. It was all about serving the organization. That is exactly what we're trained to believe is our mission in life.
Wow. And they took so when they say you're good at sales, they're saying like, you're an artist. You're supposed to be doing art. You're supposed to be like singing and like doing sales. It's like Natalie comes out. She's like, oh yeah, the sales skills are there. Like, it's like that they get that in you because it's naturally in you, but then they're using it for the wrong thing.
Well, the only reason I was able to play piano is because it was a Jehovah's Witness that was teaching it. So I was able to, thank God. So thank God I was able to do that. And then my grandfather paid for all my lessons. And so I was able, that was like my little in, you know what I mean? Like I was always looking for an in to be able to do something, you know what I mean? Like I was so desperate to learn things. I wanted to be in the school play. I'm like an artsy person. I wanted to do so many things. I had so many dreams and I could never do any of them. Every day I had that little card, in my hand that I was
bursting out of you.
Yeah. And so as an adult, of course, like I know my sister and I, we want to give our kids like every opportunity possible because we feel like we didn't have any. And so there's children right now sitting here without opportunities, not getting education, children being abused. All these things are happening to children in this organization, and it's not being publicized, and it needs to be. For some reason, people think that the J-Dubs are just nice people that knock on doors. And a lot of the people are just misled. But the organization and the men in charge, they know what they're doing. They have to know what they're doing.
Yeah, they know. But then they're brainwashed in too. That's the crazy thing, is the multi-generational. So it's like you created like such a monster. The parents are brainwashed.
Right.
They don't know what the hell they're doing. And this is what I always tell to brown girls and brown people too, where they're like, if they're still mad at their parents, I'm like, you gotta, like, they had it worse. Like they whatever you're going through, their parents did 5 times more, and they're doing like half of it, or like they're doing double. They got double, and now they're giving you half, and now you're gonna treat your kids like little princes and princesses. Like they're gonna be amazing. Which is this generation of like my sisters have kids, and they're Their kids is like, whatever you need. Whatever you need. Oh, you want to learn anything? Of course. It does. We'll fly you around the world. It doesn't matter because they weren't allowed to do stuff.
I just have to think that the pain and the things I've experienced, I try to turn them into positives, right? I got to flip the script because I can't live in that sadness and that depression anymore. You know, I've risen above it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't ever cause me pain, because clearly I do. It still hurts, right? But I've learned to deal with the pain. I've learned to turn that pain into something positive, to try to reach out and help younger people that are trying to get out, or just bring awareness so people don't go in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's, I can't believe they're still converting people. So then where can people, like, are you saying that people, you have an organization or something where people can come to you and get help, or is it just more of like a personal thing?
Not yet, but I'm feeling like advocacy might be definitely, I mean, I just do some things online, but I'll be honest, I've never spoken out because I was always afraid to. I was afraid of losing my parents more than I already have. And I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid of speaking up. And so I would love to get more into advocacy and to help people, because I really feel a drawing towards young people. I am an educator, and you know, I like being around kids and teenagers and everything else. So I would definitely like to get more into helping people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wonder, like, I guess as we continue, we're going to meet more people who are working on this. You know, like Natalie's doing a lot of work in this space. There's a couple of organizations, actually. There's one called, there's one called xcult.org. And I'm pretty sure we're on there. Like, they've posted about it a couple of times. They posted about this show a couple of times too. But no, it does feel like good work to do. Like, even the podcast, I'm happy to do it. Like, it feels good to just talk about these stories. So much more interesting, like, I mean, than whoever else I'm going to talk to. And like I said, I was in Banff and people were like, that sounds amazing. Like, this is so important. So yeah, no, we gotta work on something. We gotta figure something out. It's like, I gotta reach out to all my funding people and just see who has, like, because there's probably all kinds of funding for this in Canada anyway. I think in America too, actually. America acts like they're anti-funding or anti-grants, but then they have millions of dollars. Like, they have, it's crazy because it's just such a bigger economy.
Right.
Yeah. But what's I guess you were telling me about the other organization you were telling me about is like jwfacts.com.
Yeah, and then I was talking about basically I just talked to a lot of, I find a lot of information on Reddit because I feel like a lot of people post. So I'm not in, so I get to learn. I actually like reading about this stuff, not to just keep stewing in the past, but my parents are still in this thing. I want to know what kind of Kool-Aid they're drinking this week, right? I want to know like what people are being fed. And so because the religion has changed, or the cult has changed so much since I've been in it, as far as like the ways they're indoctrinating people. I like to read up on things and learn about things so I can be informed and to kind of see what's been going on, because there's so many people on there that post things that are just mind-boggling.
Are you on, is it Reddit, like XJW?
Yep.
Oh, sick. This is it.
Damn. So that's what I learned. I had never even heard of the physically in or mentally out or whatever that, you know, the terminology. I never even heard of that. And then
I just heard about it.
Sense to me because I am a product of a person who was out but in mentally for many, many years. And so I think nowadays people, there's elders on there all the time talking. There's people that want to leave. There's people like, you see the suicide. There's people that are on the verge of wanting to harm themselves due to the way they're being treated by the organization and their families.
Oh my God.
And so I message people, I reach out to people, and I'm on there a lot to kind of just support people and be positive. I try to bring hope instead of fear, because a lot of people are afraid to leave. They're so scared and they don't know that there's such a big world out there that they can leave and be part of and be happy and find true happiness.
I guess they just wouldn't know. I mean, that's the system. That's the system that they're going on. It's so negative.
Yeah.
Wow. This is a big Reddit.
Yeah, there's a lot of members, and a lot of people have, like I said, have reached out to me and I've talked to as well. And it's been very therapeutic for me. I feel like in the beginning, like when I went on XJW, it was just to complain or be like rehashing. But now it's like, okay, this is the reality. What are we going to do about this now? You know what I mean? And how can I help somebody else?
Yeah.
going through it, because I was absolutely alone, and now I don't have to be.
Wow, that's great. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Is there anything else you want to tell us about?
I don't know. I feel like I covered a lot. I talked a lot about the education and everything else. I really appreciate you allowing me to speak, because it's actually very therapeutic for me as well. And
That's
hopefully
great. That's what I need to hear. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, that it is like, it is joyful, you know, like a chat, interesting conversation, and like it is inherently fun to do, because then we can get more people to come on, and you know.
Yeah, and I guess that was somebody asked me to talk about. Okay, so one of the things they do is, like, if you stop going, just one more thing, if you decide to like ride out into the sunset, you get harassed. They will send you certified mail. They will try to hunt you down. They do a witch hunt. They look at your social media profiles to see what you're doing. Just similar to other cults, they track you down and find out if they saw a Christmas tree in the background of your Facebook.
Come on, they're gonna the Christmas tree.
They will come down and try to hunt you down and have a judicial meeting over that, right? So
it's truly a brainwashed in organization, because these tactics are like 1800 tactics. These tactics don't work.
Right.
It's not going to work. Like, they need to adjust with the times and get on board with the Christian right, and they might have a chance of survival, but they got to adjust with the times a little bit.
Right.
What are they doing? I guess they're, the one good thing, are they anti-war? Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. They will go to, you're supposed to go to jail before you go to war. You're absolutely, neutrality is a definitely thing. I don't know that they're interested in their numbers more than, I know that they think their numbers should grow, but I also think that they really think they're elitists. They're the only ones that are saved. Like, they're the only ones, right? And so, like, it's not like they think other people, like, God doesn't love or is going to save other, I don't know, can't even wrap my head around, I can't even say it. But it's like they truly believe that they're just this core group of people, but there's billions of people on the planet. And that, if you think about all those people dying, can you imagine what Armageddon would look like? It wouldn't be just like a couple people on the street. It would be like millions and billions of people being slaughtered and like having their eyes pecked out by birds. This is the stuff we heard as children, right? So it's like,
I remember that.
I remember the bird thing, like, oh my God, the birds are going to peck the eyes out. Like, this is horrendous, right? So I think they're almost elitist in a way, because they think they're the ones, right? So they do want to spread the word, but they don't want anybody that in other words, if you don't get it, everybody doesn't want you in there, I guess,
I get it. I get what you're saying. They're elitist. They're not foolish. It's so foolish, because they don't, like it's a truly an organization that doesn't have enough love in their heart. Like they just think that even God is like this judgmental. So they're doing it on strictly a mission of, I got to get into heaven, not I got to get numbers on earth. They don't care about earth.
Well, we weren't going to heaven, though. Remember, we're like only 144,000 were going to heaven. So I wasn't part of the heavenly hope. So
no, you're not going to make
always
it.
That strange sister or brother in the congregation that maybe had mental issues that would partake, and we'd all watch them like, they're partaking of the emblems, And so they would go to heaven. So that was such a weird thing when the first time I went to a Christian church and they were like, partake of the wine. I go, I am allowed to eat the cracker and the bread. The wine and the bread. Like, I'm allowed to do this, because it was such a thing that people would like stare at the one person partaking on at the memorial, that it was like such a bizarre thing that it was only 144,000 are going to heaven, which we all know they've already hit their mark on that, and then everybody else is living on earth. So which doesn't even make scriptural sense if you look at the Bible.
Why do it?
Right.
Does anyone ask that? Does anyone say like, why do it then?
Well, they take like one scripture in the Bible and they have an agenda, and what they do is they take scriptures and they fit the agenda to the scriptures. So instead of the scriptures being the agenda, they create an agenda and then back it up by manipulating words. So people believe they want to live on earth. They don't want to go to heaven. Where if you talk to most people in Christianity, they want to go to heaven, right? So, or they have heavenly hope, right? So we're told,
and Christianity forgives everyone.
Right. So
there's the kingdom of heaven is within you, and you just forgive and you go. It's incredible. They have incredible teachings. It's interesting that the Jehovah's Witnesses but this makes more sense now. It's not about, they don't believe that. They don't believe love, loving kindness, and there's a paradise or some like kingdom, or that God loves us. Even they think that God does not love us. It is like a tyrannical spiritual system of like, I'm just doing my part in this tyrannical system. I'm not just trying to get my numbers up. Yeah, it's interesting. I never thought like that. I always thought of religion as like another business.
Right.
So Patel of me.
I think that in the next couple years, you're going to hear a lot. There's stuff going on in Germany right now about child abuse with Jehovah's Witnesses. There's things going on in other countries. They're stopping funding. I think the top is going to be blown off. And unfortunately, I don't think that my parents will ever. I think that if my parents came to the light and came out of it, they'd realize that they ruined, that they lost years of their life. And I don't think they could handle that. But maybe, you know, people that are able to see the light will come forward because of all the negativity that's happening right now with the child abuse scandals and the things that are happening around the world and the way they're covering it up. So I think a lot of awareness, you're going to see a lot more news, negative publicity about Jehovah's Witnesses in the coming years.
Yeah, there seems to be like a lot of stuff's coming out about it. And you know, it's crazy. Like it's like with forgiveness, like I guess the it's almost like the best thing to do is almost tell them like, everyone made an honest mistake, you know, like you're born into it. Not to forgive everyone, you know what I mean? Because that is so Buddhist, but it is like they made a mistake. Like they're just lost in this thinking.
Yeah.
And everyone, I guess, is, you know, like everyone's just like brainwashed in. So that's it. Hopefully, like there's almost like, it's almost like to get people out, you almost need this loving, like, I love you if you're in, I love you for out. And then maybe they'll come out. But that's all you can do.
Right.
You can't do anything else. You can't try to convince someone to leave. It's almost like telling someone like you should fall in love with this person. You can't do it. As soon as you say it, you ruined it. They won't know.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to do a lot of forgiveness around it and just know that my parents do love me and my family loves me, but they just, they're not
in their right minds.
They're not in the right minds.
They're just making a mistake.
Yeah.
You know? It's an honest mistake. Yeah.
Yeah. So the good thing is, you know, I get to get this chapter of my life. I get to find freedom from all the guilt and shame. I get to pursue more education. I get to encourage my kids to play sports and have friends and go to college and have the life I didn't have. And that's okay. That, you know, I had to struggle for that, but they have those things, you know.
That is so nice to just hear that you're finding more and more ways to be joyful. Like it's almost like you're brainwashed as a kid. It is that old system of like love it. Like we're all made of love, and then we're in a simulation pretending we're not love, so we can remember that we're love again. And they just installed a bunch of these things that as you're hanging out with your kids, you're like, oh, I didn't get to have it, but I'm going to let my kid have it. It's like it feels good. Does it feel good? Do you feel that?
It does, and they know all about it. I don't hide it. I mean, I hide some things from them clearly, but they know all about they do know about my upbringing because I want them to be fully aware. Because my parents tried to start indoctrinating them and showing them those Caleb videos when they were little. And they came home one day and said, "Who do you serve, Mom? Jehovah or Satan?" And I was like, I mean, honestly, I should have cut off the relationship right there between my parents and them. But I gave my parents a chance. I said, that will never happen again. So, and they haven't.
Yeah.
So I said, if you want to see them, you do never talk about that. That's my job as a spiritual head of this household. I get to decide how I raise them.
Yeah, you get to decide. You've made the kid. You get to decide. Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so good for the culture. Honestly, like we could, if you want to do another episode in the future of like where we just review videos, I think that'd be great. I think it'd be fun to do and just good for the culture, you know?
Thank you so much for even having having this as a venue for people to come and listen to and get help from.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's like the Buddha asked me to do it. But I think people can, after I took the class, it's like, I just feel like I got to do it. But anyone can sign up for Cult Rehab and for public forgiveness. For forgiveness is another thing that, like now that I'm learning this stuff, I do these Rumi Oracle card readings, but they are like a forgiveness too. Each card is a forgiveness. It's really just like remembering that you're love. All these things are telling you otherwise, but you're love and you have unconditional love no matter what, and to like move forward with that. So, yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Good night. What a great episode. There's so many good episodes. Every episode is like, you know, it's interesting. I'm gonna put on our song. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Not this one. 75 but yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And this is the song. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. This is very very good karmas. All of us, everyone who's like leaving comments too. Really appreciate you. Jim Tanner, Rose Lindsay, Tucker Salazar, Estelle X, Donnie the Ape, Bolt, Natalie, of course, author of Cult Girls, the graphic novel about it. Check it out. Get it on Amazon. I think there should be a link somewhere. I'll put a link again. It's beautiful artwork too. It's great work. It's a great story. It's basically like a rom-com. I could see it being, man, I gotta send this to oh my god, in Banff. I was with this guy. He's a Persian filmmaker in Canada. Persian filmmaker. I gotta send him the book. Yeah, he'll like it. He'll like it, and then he might make it. I don't know. I mean, it has the feel of like a rom-com, but I think it'll be very good for the culture, you know, just to let people know about this and get the word out about it too. But also, it's a great story. It's a lot of fun. So check it out. I'll post a link somewhere about this. Natalie, thanks for coming. Estelle X, Jim Tanner, Lisa D, Elliot Anderson, thanks for coming. Shunning is against human rights. This person just keeps on making like a new name. That's very smart. It's good. Elliot Anderson, Banzo, FPV. This is the way. Stay healthy, parents. Yeah. Thanks for coming, everyone. Appreciate it. These are actually very good karmas that we're doing. And yeah, if anyone wants to, I do need to like post more. There's a bunch of clips coming out of all of the Natalie Grant episode. We have shorter clips coming out, like 10 to 20 minute clips, and clips from the Chris Robinson episode. But once they're up, it's like it would be good to have someone like message everyone about it, or like just post it on a bunch of different places. So if you want to do that, that'd be amazing. DM me on Instagram. You know what I'm saying? If you're looking for some karmas to do, DM me. And yeah, it'd be good if someone could do that. That'd be great. I'm so swamped. I got to pitch shows. But the culture's thirsty for spirituality. I'll tell you that. The culture is thirsty for spirituality. We need it. We need it. Just like we need to dance and we need to sing and we need to do all these things. You know what I'm saying? And these cults can hijack it. They can hijack that need and mess with us and stuff like that. So it's good that we come out for this. This is great. This is a great congregation. I'm very proud to be part of it. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. You are loved. Don't forget. And yeah, come to meditation. Next week, I'm doing a meditation on Zoom. It's at meetup.com/loveoracle. Also, links for that. Links for everything will be in the comment section. I'll post it later. But thanks, everyone, for coming. You are loved. Peace.